Fire and ice. In today's lesson, we talk of something very cheerful, the end of the world. If you haven't been living under a rock, you know how dire a situation our world is in right now. There's constantly escalating threats of war, a never-ending pandemic, and larger climate crisis looming over our heads. It's only natural to wonder, how will the world end? In a 2012, the movie-esque scenario perhaps? Great tsunamis, raining clouds of fire, a giant asteroid from space maybe? Hi dinosaurs, here we come. In his poem, Fire and Ice, Robert Frost addresses this very important question in a very unique way. He holds a debate. Mr. Frost acts like an indecisive judge, hearing both sides, who keeps changing his mind with every argument that is presented. But what makes this poem very interesting is that he isn't talking of the literal end of the world like you would suppose. He's being metaphorical. He's being symbolic. What's a metaphor and what's symbolism? Glad you asked. A metaphor is an indirect comparison. When I say to cat, you are a donkey, it's not that I can't understand the difference between two distinct animals. It's just that I'm indirectly comparing the stupidity of my cat to that of a donkey. That's metaphor for you. Symbolism is when you want to convey a deeper idea through another distinct object. For example, wearing black is often considered to be a mark of protest. A rose is a symbol for love, and the crow is considered a symbol of death. Throwback to dust of snow. What's the metaphor here then? What kind of symbols do you see in this poem? The metaphor here is the end of the world itself. Frost isn't really trying to talk of the literal end of the world. What he really means to talk about is how we, that is humanity, might end up destroying ourselves emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and therefore physically. It's about the death of goodness in the world. It's about the death of humanity. Now that we got the metaphor out of our way, let's look at how he achieves this through the use of symbolism. Fire is hot, burning, scalding, all-consuming. It destroys everything in its path. And therefore, fire is a symbol for passion, for feeling so strongly that all reason and rationality goes out the window. For example, have you ever gotten into a fight and felt extremely angry? Have you felt your ears burning, your jaw and fists clenching, your teeth gritting when someone is really irritating you? Don't you just want to punch a wall and break a thing or two to get that anger out of your system? If you are like me, you have probably done it multiple times already and regretted it later. Oops. But that's exactly what Frost is talking about. Passion. Being consumed by your emotions to the extent that nothing else matters in the moment. A few other emotions that can be described within the symbol of fire: greed and desire. Let's come to the symbol of ice. If fire is excessive desire and passion, ice is the exact opposite. It is the complete disregard of any emotion at all. Ice is cold, isn't it? Which is perhaps why when a friend acts distant, you say, "Why are you being so cold?" Or perhaps when someone is exceedingly rude and uncaring, You say, that's a cold-hearted person right there. To ignore someone is to give them a cold shoulder. All of these examples are basically the same thing: indifference, not caring at all. Being cold is being calculative, in a 80s villain kind of way. You know, the one always scheming, always plotting, trying to make sure the hero is pained in every possible way. That's the kind of hatred Frost is talking about when he refers to ice. In the first stanza of the poem, he opens up the debate and presents the two competing arguments. Some say the world will end in fire, and some say it will end in ice. Now you might wonder, that's an interesting way of talking about the end of the world. He seems almost flippant, careless, talking about something that's so serious. But that is to a good end. How? We'll see in a bit. And then on, he moves to fire and says he has tasted desire, which is an extremely interesting choice of word. Tasting something comes to you naturally. You don't have to plan or calculate or prepare yourself or even think about tasting. It's reflexive. It's natural. And that's what he's trying to tell you. There's passion and desire inside all of us, and he has experienced it. And because he has seen what it can do to him, he knows that if kept unchecked, it will cause our destruction and our downfall. Think of it. Does giving in to excessive greed not cause problems? Is it not bad to keep a tab on our anger? Let your emotions run you, and that's a sure recipe for the end of the world. But then, what of ice? He says, carelessly once again, if the world were to perish twice. Now that's incredibly suspicious. If the world has already ended once, how can it end again? Here's what he's trying to say. Fine, you felt a very strong emotion and acted on it without thinking. But there's an entire list of actions that are taken in complete awareness and with much thought. Are all of them good? Are all of those actions right? Absolutely not. We all have an 80s villain inside of us, capable of harming people deliberately, capable of planning and plotting and scheming to make sure we hurt people the most. A well-placed comment on someone's insecurity, leaking a secret that they told you in confidence. The list is endless. That's what Frost calls hate. And he has seen enough hatred in the world to know that it is equally capable of destroying the world, of causing a lot of pain. Why is Frost talking about this though? To simply put, what's the point? And why is he being so flippant about it? The point of the poem is that we are capable of a lot of things. Desire or hatred are a core part of being human. But that doesn't mean we let them overcome us. We may not be able to choose what emotions we feel, but we do have a say over what kind of actions they lead to. And hence, the poem is really a caution, a warning. Frost is trying to tell us that the end of the world can be caused by a number of things. What's common in all of them is us, humans. And all he's trying to do is to make you aware of your role in the process. Perhaps in the hope that the next time you think of raising a fist or act in greed or give in to mindless hate against someone, you will pause and reflect. And know in your hearts that neither is good and can potentially hurt someone a lot.